that has finished West Ham 3, Nottingham Forest 2. Probably sounds like quite an exciting game, really, doesn't it? But I've got to be honest with you, that wasn't particularly exciting for, well, up until about 65 minutes. In fact, I'm going to give the team the benefit of the doubt there, because I think it was quite a lethargic performance, actually. I think we lacked any sort of creativity. We sort of lacked any sort of inspiration throughout a lot of that game. Let me just go and find myself a little space over here to finish that up. We lacked anything at all. We got the early goal, don't get me wrong, and I think often for West Ham, that's not a great thing. The early goal was from Lucas Paqueta. They seemed to pass it just in front of defence, made a very, very bad pass, sort of ricocheted off one of the Forest defenders, went into the path of Lucas Paqueta, who advanced on goal, and he finished really, really well. But it was early. I mean, whatever, 2-3 minutes, you'll know better than me, should be able to check on the internet. But very, very early in the game, and I just think sometimes when that happens, it doesn't suit West Ham, it really doesn't. Then what happened thereafter was a process of us sitting back, and then sitting back some more. We did try to attack, and it's not like we didn't commit men forward, but it wasn't as if we either had the confidence to try and make the passes, or there seemed to be a reluctance on our part to pass to players who were marked. So there wasn't a lot of movement. There wasn't a lot of pass and move or anything like that. We were very, very static. Somebody said in the Hammers chat, Addicts in the Patreon group chat, somebody said we were flat. Looked like we were very flat. I think that summed it up really, really well, actually. I wouldn't say we sat off them all the time, but we just didn't have, I think, the ingenuity or the creativity to sort of break them down at any point. And so it sort of stayed like that, and we did look tired. And anyway, I guess sort of very predictably, Nottingham Forest got a goal back. And at 1-1, I've got to say, I just thought it was going to stay at 1-1. There's no way. I'm not going to pretend that I thought it was going to finish like that. What I guess I didn't particularly expect was for us to go 2-1 down. Now, don't get me wrong, we were all worried about what was going to happen at half-time. Had the team been on the Horlicks and all the rest of it again. But there certainly seemed to be a long period of time where David Moyes was just not doing anything. Not only was he inactive on the touchline, he sort of disappeared off to the bench for a little bit, certainly at the point where we went 2-1 down. I don't know. It's hard to say. You're a long way away from the pitch from where we are. But it just seemed like you were desperate, waiting for something to happen, and the team really needed an injection of something. What actually spurred us, I think, into action was going behind. And then after about 65 minutes, we actually got going. We really did. In terms of the flow of the game before that, I felt that Vladimir Soufal had been targeted. He got man of the match in that game. I don't know. Look, maybe if you watch it on Saturday, it maybe look different. But he struggled. He struggled for a lot of that game. He was targeted. That being said, they didn't have an awful lot. Obviously, I'll say that. They scored 2 goals. They did force Areola into two very good saves. One of them was, I need to see it back again. They don't tend to show that stuff on the big screen here. One of them seemed to be borderline a world-class save. Very, very good indeed. Anyway, West Ham got a goal back. Absolutely brilliant. Now, I've got to say, James Ward-Prowse, I think, is coming away from that game with 2 assists. He wasn't great. In that period, from sort of 0 minutes to 65 minutes, he hadn't been particularly good at all. He wasn't the only one. He was far from the only one. Of course, David Moyes started with Tomas Soucek, dropped Michail Antonio, and Soucek was another one who was having a very, very bad game. However, after 65 minutes, we just started really playing. We started to attack. We started to go for it. James Ward-Prowse swung over a corner and Jarrod Bowen headed it in. I mean, he seemed to rise. He's only a little fella, and he seemed to get up so high and headed the ball in. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, it was sort of, well, it was vintage. If you think vintage in terms of vintage David Moyes West Ham, the goals at the end that allowed us to draw level and then win the game really were. They were set plays, something that we are, well, I guess we're known for, sort of renowned for, really, aren't we? At that point, it's 2-2, and you are worried at that point that they're going to get the counter-attack. But I've got to say, I was getting more and more confident that we were going to win at that point. We weren't the worst. We were the best team today. We were, by a little bit. We were a little bit better than Nottingham Forest. We definitely didn't deserve to lose. But such was our lethargy in the game. It has to be said that I wouldn't have been overly surprised if we had a loss during that game, just because you just thought, where's the inspiration, where's the impetus, where's the motivation coming from in that game, and it just seemed to be very, very little indeed. But as I say, once we got over that hurdle, I don't know where this injection of energy came from. Maybe it was just the fact that we were affronted because we were losing. I don't know. I didn't see a lot of instruction from the bench, it has to be said. But then, maybe that was a tactic all along, to try and get some set plays. Anyway, it turns out we did win the game. James Ward-Prowse, another corner. Tomas Soucek, the hero of the day, really. It was Soucek and Bowen, to the rescue in that sense. And he headed in, a really, really good header. At far post again. You've got to say fair play to him. He battled on, he carried on, and I don't think he didn't have the best of times today. And at the point where David Moyes did make the substitution, I've got to say, because I do criticise David Moyes quite a lot, and I've got to say, had we have won, I would have come out here, particularly given the sort of limp and insipid display that we'd seen up to 65 minutes. I probably would have been heavily critical of David Moyes. Well, not probably, I absolutely would have been heavily critical of David Moyes. But he decided to take Edson Alvarez off, and instead he decided to leave Tomas Soucek on. I didn't think it was the right thing to do. Hey, look, this is why David Moyes gets paid whatever £4 million a year, and I don't. He left Tomas Soucek on, and Tomas Soucek got the winning goal. Of course, he brought Mikel Antonio on at that point, and it did. I'm not saying just the substitution gave us the impetus. We just seemed to be more energetic for some reason, and for that reason, I'm going to have to I've got to put it down to the European exertion. I have to. I still think we're learning how to play in Europe and play at the weekend as well. I'd love to see a record of our games where we play in Europe, and then when we go and play the Premier League at the weekend. I bet it ain't particularly great. So to come out of that with a victory is going to be, well, it's just good for everyone. I didn't want to. People keep talking about the bottom half of the Premier League. There are a certain set of circumstances today where we could have been in the bottom quarter of the Premier League. Never mind the bottom half. That's going to give us a nice lift going into the international break. Look, let's be perfectly honest. That weren't pretty, but it was exciting. It really was exciting. It wasn't pretty though, right? And Olympiacos wasn't pretty at all. So I've got my little daughter here. In fact, we can bring her in. Come here. What did you think of that?
I thought it was very good.
Is that it?
It was very competitive.
It was very competitive. What about the referee?
Oh, it was rubbish.
Thank you very much. You can go now. There you go. A good tactical insight and Hammers chat as ever. You got anything to say? You got anything to say? He's there. Look, look at him. There's a person under there. What did you think of that?
It was painful to watch for the majority of it.
It was.
Constantly playing it back. You just need to play forward, and we got it back because we was 1-0 up obviously at the start, and when we went down to 2-0 it was just
2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. Sorry. I was breathing so heavily. It was just stressful to watch. But then as soon as we scored, 2-0, I knew it was back in it. So
he was screaming. He was absolutely screaming. Do you got anything to say?
Yeah.
She's got something to say. I thought she's the shy one.
We were sitting on the edge of our seats most of the game. It was pretty back and forth with the goals, and yeah, we just got to stop passing back. It was mainly in our half most of the game, going back to the goalkeeper all the time. Yeah.
There you go. It's my big girl. She's a semi-pro footballer. She knows what she's talking about, believe it or not. But we kept on passing it back. Too much. And that's why it was a hard watch for those first 65 minutes. Too much of that was going on. Far too much. Just going back to the centre-backs and back to the goalkeeper. And it was frustrating. It's frustrating for the crowd. It's frustrating for everyone. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. We're going to go home now. At least we can enjoy the next 2 weeks, international break and all the rest of it. I can't stand the international break. Do you know what, though? I think we need it. I don't mean you and me. I think the team. I think West Ham need it. I really do. We need to get a little bit of fitness back. I think we need to get a little bit of sharpness back, and we need to. I don't know. I just wish we had a little bit more adventure. I think that's what we were lacking, a bit of adventure there. But do you know what? Great. I can say great. It was a great win. It wasn't a great performance. It was a great win, and it was a great occasion at the end. That stadium was buzzing right at the end there. So anyway, look, we all enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with a little bit more in-depth analysis of some of the individual players.